I'm Daniel Gillum here with Matt Wallace from Kentucky Shakespeare. He's the artistic director, and they've got a production coming up opening January 3rd called Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. It's a play by Tom Stoppard. Their next production, not in the summer, but in the winter. We'll talk a little bit about how those non-summer productions are going. But to kick things off, we're going to get a little bit of a taste of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead with a little scene from the play. So, Matt, why don't you set it up? What's going to happen here?
Well, we're going to do a little reader's theater here for you. This is later in the play, Tom Stoppard's Tony Award-winning play, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. I'm playing the role of the player. I had the opportunity to last be in the show in 2002 as Guildenstern, and now playing the role of the player. He travels with this group of misfits, these traveling performers. We have three of our traveling performers, our musicians, with us today. So imagine, if you will, during all of this, we have our talented players acting out what we're talking about.
All right, let's see it.
Dress rehearsal. Now, if you two wouldn't mind just moving back there. Good. Silence. Off we go. Act 1 moves now. Act 2, positions. We're tragedians, you see. We follow directions. There is no choice involved. The bad end unhappily, the good unluckily. That is what tragedy means. Positions, go. Having murdered his brother and wooed the widow, the poisoner mounts the throne. Here we see him and his queen give rein to their unbridled passion. Next, Lucianus, nephew to the king. Lucianus, nephew to the king, usurped by his uncle and shattered by his mother's incestuous marriage, loses his reason, throwing the court into turmoil and disarray as he alternates between bitter melancholy and unrestricted lunacy, staggering from the suicidal to the homicidal. Ha! He at last confronts his mother, and in a scene of provocative ambiguity, begs her to repent and recant. The king, tormented by guilt, haunted by fear, decides to dispatch his nephew to England and entrust this undertaking to two smiling accomplices, courtiers, friends, to two spies, giving them a letter to present to the English court. And so they depart on board ship and disembark and present themselves before the English king. But where's the prince? Where indeed the plot has thickened, a twist of fate and cunning has put into their hands a letter that seals their deaths. Are you familiar with this play? A slaughterhouse. 8 corpses all told. It brings out the best in us.
All right. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. Matt Wallace with Kentucky Shakespeare and a merry band of musicians. Who's playing fiddle and guitar and lute and pipe today?
I'm Anna Blanton.
Michael Vitrano.
I'm John Aurelius.
All right. Thanks, guys. So, Matt, this is turning into a thing, doing some shows outside of the summer, usually over the winter, it seems like, the winter break. Dark Lady of the Sonnets, I think, was the first one, right, a few years ago?
Right, a couple years ago, you joined us for Dark Lady of the
Yeah,
Sonnets.
I remember that well. That was a lot of fun.
And that was the first week in January, and then we thought we'd try it again last year with Twelfth Night. Had a lot of folks come out, and so we're doing it again. It's sort of becoming a tradition.
The Halloween Titus Andronicus was a huge success, right?
It was. Titus Andronicus in a Butchertown warehouse was a great way to spend the month of Halloween.
So it's working. You're charging for tickets for these shows as opposed to it being a free summer festival, and that's working out well for you guys?
It is. We really couldn't do it without the support of the Fund for the Arts, specifically the Jennifer Lawrence Arts Fund is one of our sponsors for this, and the Keynes Foundation, which, that allows us to do this. But also it's ticket sales, it's a new area for us. Shakespeare, Free Will is always going to be free. And the 11-week, 8-show, 66 performance festival we do in the summer is always going to be free. But projects like this help to support us to keep Will free. So we rely a lot on ticket sales.
Well, it's a gift to the city, the Summer Shakespeare Festival. Amy Attaway is directing this play, right? She's our Associate Artistic Director. So Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are minor characters in Shakespeare's Hamlet, right. But Stoppard makes them the leading roles in this play, right?
Right.
So is this a retelling of Hamlet, or is this a different story altogether?
It's sort of a bizarro backstage view of Hamlet. So you have these two minor characters played brilliantly by Greg Maupin and Brian Hines. You've seen them in a lot of our productions and throughout the city. So you sort of see behind the scenes of Hamlet and what happens to these minor characters as they're sort of thrust into this Beckett-like world. And we see what happens behind the scenes.
Yeah. So now Hamlet makes a cameo,
He does. Not just Hamlet. You see a lot of the 2014 cast from Hamlet from the park. So Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are actually trapped in Kentucky Shakespeare's 2014 production.
Oh, wow.
As you know, we recently took down our stage house. So you'll actually see some of that brown stage house is going to be in the theater of the Baumhard. So it's really going to be, particularly, for those who saw that production and those who know Hamlet, it's going to be a lot of fun. I
want to ask you about your theater too in just a little bit, but first let's talk about the music.
Sure.
Tell me about the music in this production and how it's a part of the production.
Sure. This is the second year we've collaborated with the wonderful Jack Ashworth, and you know Jack, and he brought these wonderful musicians to us last year, and we asked them all to come back, including Jack. So Jack and our musicians picked this music, selected it with our director, Amy Attaway. As we look back at this oral society that was Shakespeare's world, a lot of it was music. And our director, Amy, thought it would be a lot of fun to have these wonderful people to add to that.
So in Shakespeare's plays, we find songs all the time. Are the songs in this play written in, or is this something you've added?
This is all added by our director and Jack.
All right. So I come to work down 4th Street most every day, and the other day I turned to my left and I saw Shakespeare, in shambles and rubble.
Right.
What's happening at the park?
Right. So, for 25 years we've had the same stage house designed by veteran scenic designer Paul Owen. He designed 30 Years of Humana Festival. He designed that stage house 25 years ago. And, I've known for the past few years that structurally it's time to reimagine it. So we started working with Paul and what's going to be the next stage of Shakespeare in Central Park. And part of it was inspired by a couple recent trips to Shakespeare in Central Park in New York, another Olmsted Park. And in the off season, it's an open, flat, omnidirectional space. And that's what we're going to have in the off season. And it's going to allow us to, play in nature more now that we are all using wireless mics. We can focus on these 3 beautiful trees, which is the reason the amphitheater's there in the first place. So instead of covering up, we're gonna strip away. So we're working right now with Paul in the design stage steps for the summer. So we'll see what the new vision is. It's gonna be focusing more on the play and the stories and nature.
Well, good. I can't wait to see the summer festival. Can't wait to see Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Opens January 3rd, runs through January 8th. Is that right?
That's correct.
It's at the Kentucky Center's Baumhard Theater, and you can find out more information about tickets at kentuckycenter.org. Matt, thank you so much for being here today. Thanks to our musicians, and hope you go see the show.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thanks.